Thank you, everybody. We have Ashley Hatch here. Jason, go ahead and kick us off.
Thanks, Sam. Hi, Ashley. Am I coming through well? I'm in a grocery store. I hope you can
Yeah,
hear me.
yeah, I
Okay,
can
good.
see.
Thanks for speaking with us. I wanted to ask a little. I know the group is used to Adrian being in charge based on last year, on game day at least. But I was wondering if, with Jonah's suspension coming in, has there been any sort of disruption on in this week of training, or has it just been completely normal and match day will just be slightly different?
Yeah, it's been pretty normal and match day it'll just be different. But like you said, we're used to Adrian coaching, so hopefully it won't be too different for us.
Curious what you've seen this week. I know last week's game, there was a little bit of, on one hand, the score line is not what you want, but on the other hand, there were some chances where if those go in, it's a very different game. I was wondering how the reaction has been in these last few days, not just from some of the younger players who maybe haven't had that tough experience in a pro game before, but just from the squad in general.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like 3-0 is never a result you want, but it's always a good opportunity to learn. And we came in the next day and we watched film and we definitely learned a lot. One of our biggest takeaways was just like a few like little things that are definitely in our control that we can do a little bit better that I think would have maybe changed the trajectory of that game. So we kind of practiced that, this week, just getting prepared for this next game, especially at home in front of our fans. So I think going through a tough challenge like that has definitely made us all a bit stronger.
Thanks. I'll hop to the back of the line here.
Hmm.
Ella, go ahead.
Hey Ashley, thanks for taking some time to chat with us. Jason mentioned the chances that you guys had in the Gotham game that could have, made that scoreline look very different. And with, different lineups and different combinations on the forward line so far this season, what has that looked like for you guys in practice, working on finishing, working on, creating the best possible quality chances?
Yeah, I mean, something that we've always done is every player practices like almost every position, especially like within the forward line. And I feel like there's pros and cons to both of that. Like when you have a season like we're having where you have injuries and you have to move players around, people are comfortable playing multiple different positions. Sometimes it can be challenging, when maybe you haven't played with someone as long as you've played with another person. But I think it'll be to our benefit to have that rotation. And I think in training this week, we've done a good job of just making sure that we're in front of goal, that we're kind of being a little bit more urgent and having a little bit more quality and creating those quality chances and not rushing things. But yeah, I think we've done a better job on it this week. And so hopefully we can translate that into the game tomorrow.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Over to Annie.
Oh, sorry. Cat here. Hi, Ashley. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Actually, that was kind of my first question, was just how are you doing? Obviously, you came off a couple weeks ago with a concussion, but were able to play some time last week. So how are you coming along with your recovery?
Yeah, I'm doing really good, feeling much better. Thanks for asking.
Great. And then I also wanted to ask about, it seemed like a problem last week was partly just like having kind of a slow start or difficulty with the first half. And obviously you weren't on the field then, but wondering kind of if the team's done anything to prepare kind of for the beginning of the game, especially knowing Angel City likes to score early.
Yeah, we've definitely, like I said, we watched film the next day after that our last game, and that was one thing that we talked about is just making sure that we have a better start. What are those actions? What does that look like? Being on the front foot, being more aggressive, especially in our press. And so that's something that I know that we're ready to do a lot better at this game is just making sure that we are pressing and we're putting Angel City under a lot of pressure the whole game, but specifically like in the first 5-10 minutes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, we'll wrap up with Jason.
Actually, I wanted to sort of build on I think both both sets of questions from Ella and Kenny. Obviously, the nature of a team going through as many injuries as you've had this year means that the training sessions look different, the rhythms in games look different. You mentioned the benefit of that, of building those bonds up with players that maybe wouldn't have gotten those opportunities. But how has that been for you in terms of, in a match, maybe Lacey is playing half an hour, or maybe she's playing wide like she did in the Challenge Cup, and maybe the next game she's having to play underneath, or I think Narumi played the 10 that one game. How has that been to sort of constantly have to recalibrate your play based on the other players around you?
Yeah, it can be a challenge sometimes, but I feel like it's something that we've been doing a lot, especially like starting last year. So it's something that I'm accustomed to, and I also take it as, a compliment that the coaches and the team have, confidence in me to play multiple different roles. Obviously, my favorite is playing the 9, but I'm confident in doing whatever is asked of me, whatever the team needs, and I think that's the same mentality for every player. And I feel like we've done a good job of being able to adapt to different formations based off of player availability or based off like what the opponent like exploiting their weaknesses. So I think it's really good to have that flexibility, and I think every player is willing to play whatever role, and I think that's something that makes us a really good team.
And then finally, obviously, a lot of those players that have been out are slowly but surely coming back. The availability report that we get on our side is getting a little shorter. Hopefully, it gets quite a bit shorter in the next few days here. But I do wonder how that's been in terms of morale at training, things like that, of getting those players that maybe have to be on the side or they're in the gym only, and now they're starting to come back and be a part of the session. Is that boosting the group?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like anytime we get a player back from being on the injury report, it makes us all really happy, and it definitely adds a lot of energy and excitement. And it also, I feel like, just helps our roster and gives us a lot more options and gives us the ability to be a lot more dynamic based off what skill sets that player brings to the table, especially like towards the end of the games. I think Crow did a great job last game of bringing in a lot of creativity and helping us get some more momentum at the end. So I think anytime we can get more players, it's always going to make us better.
You mentioned Croy. I guess I lied before. It wasn't my last one. But you mentioned Croy before. Is there getting her back into training after such a long time out for her? Was the chemistry just back on immediately, or did you have to sort of work at it a little bit to make sure that it was where it was last year?
I mean, I feel like it came back pretty quick. Obviously, like she's still building in minutes, and the more minutes that we can have her on the pitch, the better that chemistry will be with everyone because there's a lot of new players in the team that she hasn't played with. But she's just a really good player, so I think wherever she steps on the field, she kind of fits seamlessly.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Ashley.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hatchie. We will be right back with Adrian Gonzalez.